Welcome to Banking on Experience, the one-stop shop for all your financial services tips and tricks, the future of business and the future of the customer. Here is your host from CRMNEXT.
So Peter, I wanted to thank you for being one of my first guests on my blog, and to have someone like you that really has been at the beginning of digital marketing in the early days with New York Times, and then moving on, to do, work with Scripps and the Food Network, and then on to WNYC, and, really create a platform, and make, us aware of a platform in podcasts that everybody counts on for their content, every day now. I mean, it's just been fabulous. But then you went on to West Elm, and you've had this, real experience, bringing people into West Elm, both digitally and physically. So I thought, with everything that's going on in the world today, I'd love to get your thoughts on, what is really changing in this crisis, or where's the opportunity as people are looking at what they can do now to tee up what they do in the future that helps us recover. Do you have some thoughts?
Something that's happening right now that I hope is really positive, I believe is positive, and I hope will have lasting effects, is this reconnection that people are having in very real ways. Brands and businesses need to be more human in their relationships, and I think we're exiting a period where we're perhaps overly admiring of technology and big tech for tech's sake, and forgetting that it's actually a tool to help connect people. And we're seeing right now in this very interface that you and I are meeting on, which you invented yourself, is being used to connect people in times of need and in very real ways. It's been delightful to see Zoom and other conferencing platforms leave the office and instead be used to reconnect friends who can't see each other. Just the other day, we attended a birthday party of a friend of my son who is locked in his apartment far away. My friends and I have been meeting for virtual cocktail hours, and the world is reconnecting, hopefully in very genuine and human ways. I'm hopeful that as we return to some version of normal, people will take with them the positives that came from reestablishing relationships with people for whom they perhaps lost touch, for remembering the value of friends and family and actual conversation, and perhaps moving past the use of social media to project the version of yourself that you'd like to be versus who you really are.
No, it's really great, and thank you. It's amazing. In 1994, when we created web conferencing, it was a very different internet. The speeds weren't there for really good video, but our vision was that it was going to allow us to meet in between those physical meetings, and there was no replacement for a handshake. There was no replacement for really being there. But if we can see each other, there's so much communication, and Eric has done a great job with Zoom and others in bringing video to, a lot of folks. It's been used in business, and now it's being used, for virtual cocktail parties and others. And, what I think is exciting there is, as you said, it's bringing back human to human, perhaps because we're seeking it out because we're so isolated or we're having to shelter in place. But it's also teaching a whole group of people that, weren't using technology like this, to use this, whether it's seniors or others. And, does that, set up an opportunity for the future of brands and the future of relationships, as you were saying, and, where the human perhaps is going to be coming back in, blended with technology to be the killer app that, relationships are the key. And, we have those relationships, but they're not with all of the brands that we work with. And, somebody at a call center isn't the same as doing what we're doing right now. There's a lot of nonverbal communication. So it's interesting as I look at, is it going to be the future of the banking branch that, people digitally drive to the branch and work with somebody face to face when they can't be side by side. And, how this changes the dynamic of how people are helped, right? So that we give them convenience and we give them care. So, do you have some thoughts?
I think too often we forget the R in CRM, right? It is a relationship. And in a lot of the brands that I've worked for, particularly New York Public Radio and West Elm, we were trying to humanize. We were very human-centered brands to start with. And I think we're going to see more brands move towards human centricity as we realize that, in a time like this, in the absence of people, your brand means nothing and your business collapses. And it's very easy to service the middle of the bell curve using technology. But the fringe cases, I think, is very often where the rubber meets the road on building a relationship, either a really positive experience or really negative experience. And I think how businesses deal with this is going to be, I'm hoping, move back towards a more human and more authentic relationship. I think a lot of brands are doing things now in the face of COVID that seem to be driven by perhaps PR departments. And they're doing what someone said is it's the marketing equivalent of our thoughts and prayers, sort of meaningless tactics, or to show that you recognize that things are happening. But in reality, I think the really authentic brands that care are really going out and doing things to help their customers, to help the communities in which they operate. And that often means making very difficult decisions about your teams, about your employees, and about your customers. So when this is over, I think a lot of people are going to look back at the brands and see, were you really there for me in my time of need?
Yeah, no, it's amazing. The banks and credit unions are really spooling up to try to deliver the aid packages, the PPP to help small businesses keep people paid. Their longer term recovery packages that are out there. They're doing a lot to really proactively reach out to folks, which I think is so important, right? To get those programs in place as quickly as possible. It's been a huge load for many of them because they're not able to keep their lobbies open. They're having to use things like Zoom. But I do think as they authentically deliver the evidence of action, whether it's in some of these, as you've said, they're not always the most profitable thing you do for your business in the short term, but they're the really important thing you do for your business in the long term. Is to be there for people and to do the accommodations that you can to build a true relationship. So, I think you're absolutely right. And it's interesting as you look at, what can people be doing today when there isn't the customer traffic, to make those customers feel important, make them feel like there's an authentic relationship with that brand. So,
we all have, and we all remember, I'm sure, that one interaction with a company or even maybe a local business where someone was really there for you in a way that you didn't expect. I'm trying to think of what's a good brand example where, as you're dealing with a company, something gets royally messed up, they handle it for you. And at the end, you remember that, right, forever. And you become sort of eternally loyal to that company because of that one time. Remember that time we got stuck? That seems to be like maybe a familiar one is like, I'm in a foreign country and for some reason my credit card doesn't get accepted. And I call, Amex or whoever it is, and they like fix the whole thing on the phone and they make sure I get the hotel room that for some reason didn't have my reservation. Everything gets fixed and you remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is, it's the evidence of action that is the key, finding those examples, that we can make today that, in so many cases, it's an authentic look at, reach out to someone and say, hey, we're going to pause your payments for the next 2 months to give you some cushion. Those are things that people do while people are uncertain, right? And, other places that we can make some proactive reach out to let them know that PPP isn't going to be hard to do, that the Treasury is looking to make sure they have the money for their payroll. And so many small businesses, you were with the Food Network for a while. You look at restaurants and the staff that they have, and the challenge they have in doing all takeout instead of being served in the restaurant. And the keys to getting that money into people's hands. But the opportunity there is to continue to know them and know their aspiration, and know that not only do they need the money for the recovery, but they're going to need to dig out, right? That the recovery is going to happen based on the good work that they do for their team members, for the employees, for their customers, doing the things they can do. And I definitely think the banks and credit unions definitely part of this. I'm in the CRM world, and I think that as we've talked about, so often people are treated as leads or referrals, right? They're treated as cases. And, instead, if we have depth of knowledge, we can turn insight into action. And I think, as you've often said, a lot of people have insight, but don't make the hard choice. And, I think it's making the good choice, and taking that proactive, move forward with people, and whether that's making an exception or whether it's being more creative about how products get used together.
When I was at West Elm, we had customer service issues, as every retailer has, often to do with logistics of shipping products to the people. And at one point I asked to get just a list of people whose complaints in the last couple of weeks had been escalated up the system, but resolved. And I had send all these people a gift for free of towels that we just launched a bath line with a little note saying, really sorry we messed up. We really love you as our customer, and we respect and we want your business. Here's a free gift from us. And of course, put a bounce back coupon in there as well. And a surprising number of people went right back into the store with the coupon, did additional shopping. Some sent us notes saying, thank you for this. This was really wonderful. So I think a little bit of authenticity. I think we had to eat some humble pie there and say, we're really sorry. This is not how we wanted the relationship to go. Give us another shot. And most people were willing to do that.
Now, do you think, just blue skying as we come out of this, given all the different people that have started to use Zoom, and, do you think that, digital retail is going to end up with some personal shoppers, or, that there's going to be this blend of digital and human as we move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not there anymore, but I do understand that they're doing a lot of design consultation now virtually, which would make a lot of sense. Show your room, have somebody help you out. I think people are going to become much more comfortable with this. I think big question is when we come through the other side of this, are people going to be more comfortable working from home, and are businesses going to be less reluctant to have people from home? Or are we going to be craving the community of the office and can't wait to get back in? Is it going to drive the other way?
I think it's going to be interesting. It's hard to have a crystal ball, but that's a great place to sort of look forward to the opportunity to do both, right? I think there is is it going to become a different work week, where there's work from home Thursday, Friday, and there's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the office, or what is that going to look like for organizations as they look at the cost of space, right? I mean, you've worked in New York, there is the cost of commuting and all the other things that are challenges, and people having to work through that right now, I think is, getting people creative about how these technologies get used, but also still recognizing where they fall short. It's hard to stand at a whiteboard together and jot things down. And there are other sort of modalities of, eating together. A few of us are having, dining together experiences remotely tomorrow night, and others. And, it's you look at the number of people that are celebrating, whether it's Passover or Easter, together, but not physically together. So I think there's an opportunity, as you say, that, people are going to be looking at, did they enjoy it? Did it bring back certain things that they really valued? And did it, also create some some gaps, right? I think we do miss getting together. I look forward to seeing you in New York and in New York soon. So, any parting thoughts?
You have me thinking a lot now about this, the reality of people being in physical contact with one another versus this new world. And the fact that you said work from home Thursday, Friday, but what I think has happened with all this working from home is it's turned into Friday, Saturday, Sunday is turned the same as Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And I imagine going back into a physical space will also maybe reestablish some of those lines between home life and work life. One of the fascinating things we're seeing is changes in digital behavior, increases in desktop traffic to website, for example, from mobile, whereas, because people are at home and they're establishing different habits than they used to. I believe we're seeing increases in terrestrial radio listening and streaming music, but decreases in podcast listening, which is very much a mobile on the go experience. So I think it's going to teach us a little bit about what people do at home versus what they do as they move around. Look, I think people are communal by nature, right? As animals, we need to be with one another, and we can't be contained here for too long. As I was thinking ahead to the school year starting in September, I was wondering, are the kids going to continue doing remote learning? Or are they going to go back to school? And I think we just can't be held back, that people are going to burst out of their homes and want to be with each other again. And with that, I think there's the opportunity for businesses, for marketers to remember that one of the roles you play is to be a convener of communities that support your brand, communities that share your tribe that has something in. And we have that opportunity to put that big bear hug out there, grab people again in a loving way and say, like, we're all together in this, and let's move forth as humans together.
Well, that's awesome. That's a great place to end. I have nothing else to say other than thank you, Peter Weingard, for being on and being part of, I think a perspective everyone's going to value.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Banking on Experience. Remember to tune in each week and subscribe, where we aim to simplify work, drive growth, and deliver on experience.